Welcome to Shepherd University. We're glad you're all here. My name is Dr. Porter. I'm the Dean of Graduate Studies and Continuing Education. We're delighted to have a star among us. As we've been saying, we're all stars in terms of working with students and making sure that they're very aware of their civics. And Dr. Shipley couldn't make it. I don't think she's in the audience, but she welcomes you on behalf of Shepherd University as well. Mr. Ray Smock is here with us as well, the director of the Robert Byrd Legislative Center. We're glad to have him here, and he welcomes you as well, and we know people will be trickling in. This wasn't meant to be a very large group. We wanted an intimate discussion with our star as well as yourself, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Scot Faulkner, the executive director of the Dreyfuss Initiative. Thank you, and go ahead and turn it over, Scott.
Right, thank you, Russ. Tonight is really about an informal discussion. The Dreyfuss Initiative has been around about 7 years, and Richard will be talking about this momentarily, but in a nutshell, we all know that America is in a death spiral as it comes to its civil society. Civics is not being taught well. It's not being taught at all. In fact, the state of Maryland just last month canceled the civics requirement for their public school system. So we're walking in the wrong direction very fast. We also are seeing the kinds of incivility in the news, in the Congress. You have members of Congress proudly saying that their statements are not intended to be factual, and no one seems to be upset with that. And so we need to figure out a way to turn things around. And so what Richard Dreyfuss has been doing for now 7 years has been basically a Paul Revere number. He's been out there speaking to over 170,000 live audience people across the country, raising the clarion call that there is a problem. We need to bring civics back into our lives as adults as well as for our young people, and we need to teach it in a way that creates effective, engaged adults who then become effective, engaged citizens. And so when we came up with coming to Shepherd University for a number of reasons, and those discussions are underway, which we can talk about later, we wanted to meet with you. You're the front line. You are teachers teaching students, you are teachers teaching teachers, and we really want that reality check on what is happening out there. What are the barriers to teaching civics and making civics and the underlying documents of our civic culture, the underlying context of our civic culture, and the underlying skills of being an effective, engaged adult in that civic culture. Why isn't it happening, and what can we do to make it different? And so with that, I want to turn to Richard Dreyfuss. Again, you know him for many years in some of the great iconic films of all time, but underneath all that has always been an amazing intellect that has always been engaged in our founding principles and founding documents. And in the last 7 years, this has become the center of his life, which is what brings him to us today. So with that, Richard.
I'd like to start, since you guys are teachers, right? What's the mandate? What's the purpose of public education? From anyone?
To create good citizens.
To create good citizens. Anyone else? Anyone have another thought?
Develop future leaders.
Okay.
It used to be to socialize citizens.
To socialize citizens. Yes, when we had a huge immigrant surge coming in. It is that. According to 47% of the state's constitutions, it is to raise up good citizenship. If that's the case, we fail. Because we have removed the study of governance and the study of this particular theory of governance from the school curriculum. It's no small thing, because we have the most famous cultural mythology in the world. everyone, except for those who we brought here against their will, or who we found here and killed, all share the same story somewhere in their families. That they fled oppression of caste and class designed by wealth, that paralyzed them and made it impossible for them to achieve anything in their own countries. And that was the truth of the world. There was a curse on mankind for its entire history, which said very simply, you and yours will never rise. You are a serf, your grandchildren will be serfs, and my heel will always be on your neck. And that was that. Until America said, wait a minute. If you can get here, if you can make the journey, if you have rigor and a work ethic and brains and luck and can take what life throws at you, you might rise by your own merit in your own lifetime. And that was the most important political message in the history of civilization, and was heard in every corner of the world. And that's why people came here. That's why they come here. That's why they'll always come here. They know America to be a political miracle, a safe haven and a second chance. Individuals and elected officers who commit crimes that are brazen and right in front of your face every day, because they are certain of one thing only, that you don't have the ability to sustain outrage or ask questions or wield the power that is mandated to them by the Constitution of the United States. We are, in fact, acting out the exact opposite of what we were meant to do. And we call ourselves, or we call the War of Independence, a revolutionary war. When you ask anyone, what revolution is that? What was so revolutionary about our Revolutionary War? The answer almost always is independence from Great Britain. Well, that's not what was so revolutionary about our war. What was revolutionary was the doctrine that the ruler and the ruled could be one thing, and that monarchs, by divine right, or any form of totalitarian, or any form of government by committee, was not going on here. What's going on here is that the citizen is the final arbiter of political power. The only way that a citizen can know that and act on it is if he's taught it. And for the years since the birth of Horace Mann, who you could consider to be the last of the founding fathers, he told us just what you said, that public education was meant to raise up good citizenship. And now it does no such thing, and it doesn't teach us the basics of anything. We know that we don't know how to cook or sew, or hammer a nail, or build a chair, or know what due process is. We don't know what due process costs. We don't know what it costs in terms of blood. We don't know how different our form of government is to all the forms of government that preceded it, which is why it's revolutionary. We don't know how to prepare for the 21st century. We pretend that we do. And we, in actuality, are preparing our kids for something that resembles a Fred Astaire movie. But we've got the first decade of this century under our belt, and the evidence is already in. The 21st century is going to be the story of toxic fumes in subways, poison, bombs, dirty bombs, and the stealing of your homes illegally by institutions we were trained to rely on, and who fear no punishment. That's the 21st century. And in no place in this country are we looking it straight in the eye and dealing with it. I have 4 children, and as soon as I was capable of seeing that this was all personal, and someone was going to put his hand on my son or daughter's shoulder and say, "Come along with me, little girl, come along with me, little boy, and I'll give you a public education, and I'll give you a Mercedes, and I'll give you a stipend, and we'll have some illegal wars and kill people, and you can get killed." I said, that's it. I draw a line in the sand. I'm for the United States of America because it is the best answer thus far to a question that we have asked for 13,000 years, both in the secular form of governance and in every faith and religion there is. And that question is, how can people live together with some semblance of decency and freedom and opportunity and liberty? And so far, the best answer is this country. And we are blowing it. We get an F in the simple notion of being able to fulfill the American dream, which was, we can pass along to our kids a better country than the one we got from our parents. And now we can't. Not might, not maybe. We can't.